You're listening to Spotlight, the podcast that fosters connections with veterans and military spouses. Here's your host, Bob Louthan.
Hey, this is your host, Bob Louthan, founder of the VeteranCrowd Network, the network that brings veterans and veteran-led businesses together with each other and the resources they need to prosper. And you are tuning into the Spotlight. My guest today is a Naval Academy grad, Navy veteran, Darden School grad like me, and the CEO and founder of American Veterans Group, Ben Biles. Welcome to the program for the second time.
Bob, it's a pleasure to be here today. Thank you so much for having me.
In the vein that confession is good for the soul, Ben and I had a wonderful conversation 48 hours ago, and obviously I was trying to operate above my pay grade because I forgot to hit the record button, and so he's been very generous to come back and do this over again. So Ben, as I was telling Ben before the podcast, this is going to be all new to me because I've got short-term memory issues and can't remember everything he said 2 days ago. So anyway, we're going to have fun today. How's it going, Ben?
It's going well. It's a Friday afternoon. The team's winding down after a hard day, and we're really excited. It's always fun to come in every day and contribute and add value to our clients. How are you, Bob?
Yeah, I'm doing good. We got to give a shout out to Emily Schuler at USAA. She's the one that introduced us. She's a fellow Darden grad, although I think she didn't overlap with you at Darden. But anyway, give a shout out to her at USAA and thanks to her for introducing us. So let's go back down memory lane again, but let's talk about Ben Biles growing up and winding up at the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis.
Yeah, of course. And Emily, thanks for connecting us. She's been a great friend and advocate at USAA. Her and her team are just doing fantastic stuff for veterans and their policyholders. So, yeah, I grew up in a small town outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, of 2,000 people, 2 stoplights, and a Burger King. It's a classic American small town, just trying to reinvent itself. As technology has changed, it used to do a lot of textile mills is a big part of its economy, and now it's more of a service industry. My stepmom was actually the mayor of Cramerton, so it was really cool to grow up in that environment. I remember that she had a lot of challenges about how do you get this park built or how do you get this school funded. So I always appreciated and admired the being a good civic-minded individual in the public sector was always interesting to me.
Yeah. So you're going to the Naval Academy, folks. If Ben were to stand up, you'd have to turn your phone sideways because how tall are you?
Bob, I'm 6'9". So I grew 7 inches between my sophomore and junior year in high school. And when you grow that much in North Carolina, one of the sports that you're strongly encouraged to participate in is basketball. And as it turned out, I had grown up playing and I was good, but being 6'9" definitely has its advantages. And I just fell in love with the game.
Did you have relatives that were tall? I mean, were you expecting? I mean, the growth plates, the pain in your growth plates must have been awful.
There were some growing pains for sure, mentally and physically. But my father's 6'4", my mom's 5'9", so folks in my family are tall, just not like me. I'm a little bit of an outlier.
I get it. So how does this lead to the Naval Academy?
So, I've been recruited by a couple different schools when I was in high school, and I love the aspect of being able to play Division I basketball and compete at the highest level in college. But I didn't really connect with a lot of the student athletes the same way I did when I visited the Naval Academy. And it really just took it to a whole nother degree, seeing the student athletes and how they were interested in pursuing the academics but also playing basketball at a high level, and then the aspect of serving their country. And as a young person, I was a sophomore in high school when 9/11 happened, and I remembered how this country really came together around a common good. And it was when I had the opportunity to go to the Naval Academy, I also relied on a lot of mentors that showed an interest in me, and they strongly supported the opportunity, and I jumped all the way into it, and it's been the best decision that I've ever made. I've always been a big believer in serving something higher than myself, and going to the Naval Academy and then serving afterwards is something I'd encourage every young person to do. It's been incredible.
I can't believe 9/11's almost 20 years ago now. It just blows my mind. I mean, it may seem longer to you, I was in my 30s, I guess, or gosh, I'm almost 40, I guess, maybe when 9/11 happened. And, it just doesn't seem like that long ago. So you go to the Naval Academy, you got to play some?
Got to play a little bit. Going to the Naval Academy is a rude awakening enough for students, but then I think for myself, it was even more challenging. The demands that the Academy puts on your time through basketball, academics, and your military requirements made it really difficult. And so I struggled my first year, but I got better as a player all 4 years there, and the team did as well. For example, we won 5 games my first year, and it was interesting. One of my roommate from the Naval Academy was on the football team, and he wasn't even interested in coming to our games because we weren't winning. And long story short, we just kept putting in the work, and we kept getting better. And then we started to see results my senior year. We finished, I think, second in our league, in the Patriot League, and I think won like 6 straight games at the final stretch of our season. And it was really exciting. It was exciting to build something. And
what are the schools that are in the Patriot League? And I want to say the Navy's in a different football conference, but was that the way the setup was back then?
Correct. The Naval Academy now is in a football conference, but when I was there, it was an independent. On the basketball side, it's always been, since I've been there to now, part of the Patriot League. And so in the Patriot League, you have Army, Colgate, Holy Cross, Bucknell, Lehigh, Lafayette. They're all members of the Patriot League conference.
I think VMI toyed with going to the Patriot League 10 years ago, 15 years ago, ended up playing around in the Big South, and now we're back in the Southern Conference. But it would have made a lot of sense to be in the league with Army and Navy and a lot of those schools, Bucknell,
Yep.
But anyway, wasn't meant to be. So now you get out, and 6'9", obviously you want to be a submariner, right? You want to be in a cramped space, maybe? No.
I've done some crazy things, Bob, but serving on a submarine has not been one of them. Instead, I commissioned as a supply corps officer in the Navy, and my first duty station was the USS Nimitz aircraft carrier, and we were based out of Coronado Island, which is right outside San Diego.
Right.
And just an incredible experience. I was the dispersing officer and also the wardroom officer on the ship, and I was the youngest officer. So we had about 350 officers, and I was the most junior. But there were a lot of great, officers that took me under their wing, and they were also Naval Academy grads. Some of them were athletes as well, and showed an interest in me. And I think for me, like, it was the education at the Naval Academy was one thing, but it was really powerful to step out and have a meeting with my sailors on my first day. I was responsible for 50 folks from 18 to 45 years old. And at that point, I started holding myself to a higher standard, because it wasn't about just me anymore. If I missed a class, it wasn't about Ben Biles, or it was about Ben Biles. But now, when I showed up to my first meeting, I had all these 50 sets of eyes looking at me, and it was really fun and rewarding to learn how to build their respect and earn their respect every single day. And it taught me a lot about myself and about respecting others in leadership.
You think being at the Naval Academy prepared you well for that first job as an ensign? Or were you, did you have the deer in the headlights effect?
There's pros and cons to everything. I think one of the biggest was the ability to prioritize my time. So as a student athlete at the Naval Academy, I was getting pulled in a lot of different directions. Make sure that your bed's made perfect, your room's in a perfect condition, make sure your uniform looks great, make sure that you make your class on time, make sure that you get a good grade in your class, make sure that you're making your free throws and being a good teammate. And so what I learned was just time management and to really focus on what was important to for my experience and why I was there and how I was going to be a better officer. And I think all of that combined really helped me become a better officer because I think that's how life is. And it allowed me to really prioritize on how I could develop myself and my team to best complete our mission. And
I'd make the argument that student athletes at the academies and the senior military colleges, it's another 40-hour-a-week job on top of being a cadet or a midshipman.
It is. And I remember we played Holy Cross up in Worcester, Massachusetts. I think I pronounced that right. And the game started at maybe 7:30. And by the time it finished and we showered, we were on the bus at 11 o'clock at night. And we drove back to Annapolis. And we were on a sleeper bus. And so it took us about 8 hours to get home. Well, I had a chemistry exam that next day at 9 a.m. It counted like 25% of my grade for that class. And no one cared that I was, away in Massachusetts the night before. So it was just a different part of the experience. And another thing that was really important, I think, too, is being a student athlete, playing basketball. Like I wanted to come in day one and be the best player of my team and score a lot of points and get those accolades. But as it turned out, I had a lot of teammates that were better than me. And I learned that if I wanted to play a bigger role in the team, I needed to find more ways to contribute than just scoring points. I needed to get people open. I needed to get rebounds. I needed to set screens. I needed to cheer on my teammates and motivate them. And that has been so true for my time in the service. And since leaving active duty, my job now is just finding there's more ways to contribute to the team than just scoring points. And whether it was thinking about what my commander's intent was and how I could best contribute to that in new and creative ways, to now. So it was a good experience.
Ben, you got out of the Navy and ventured to Charlottesville. Our paths didn't cross, but it took similar paths. The Darden School at the University of Virginia is very good about bringing in pretty large cohort of veterans in every class, probably, 10% roughly, I think is their target. They describe themselves as a yellow ribbon school. I think they've got the Darden Military Association. Talk about your MBA program. I do think we're gluttons for punishment because the Darden roughs you up pretty bad the first year.
It does. So I had a couple friends in my immediate network who had enrolled at MBA programs and were either current students when I was thinking about doing the program or were in their professional careers and had been MBAs. And so I learned about their experiences, and I really thought that would be a good fit for me is to do an MBA and to broaden my network in a business sense and learn a little bit more about what my next professional journey could be and learn about those opportunities. Coming from the Naval Academy, I'd always thought day one, I'm strictly focused on my active duty time, and I didn't know what an investment banker was. I didn't know what a consultant was. And the MBA was a great opportunity to broaden my perspective. So I went to Charlottesville my first day, or one of my interview days, and I meet Miss Cheryl Jones. Cheryl, if you're on the call, love you, who was one of the leaders of the admissions team at Darden and really has shown a strong interest in military veterans. I think Cheryl and also the leadership at Darden really appreciate and value the skill sets and experiences that veterans bring to the classroom and also in their professional lives. And that was really encouraging because for me, I didn't have a strong network in the business world at the time, and it was great to get that encouragement. And then one of my shipmates from the Nimitz actually was in the class of 2015, so the year above me, and it was just great to see a familiar, friendly face, Chandler Brenneman, at the schoolhouse. But just an incredible program. I think one of the greater benefits of my life has been the Naval Academy network, but I also see a strong parallel to that with the Darden community. I think something about that first year shared experience of hardship and going through that tough first year really brings the network together. And the case study method is just, it's a great fit for how I learn and see things. It's not, many decisions are not black and white. They're often gray, and just incredible. So glad I did it.
Your class of 2016 at Darden. Jesus Christ, I was having my 30th reunion when you were in your second year. Folks, it's just making me feel old. I'm just going to fall out of the chair here in a minute. So you end up, you come out of Darden, you head north. What happens? And let's talk about laying the foundation now for American Veterans Group.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. So I went to Darden and wanted to do something entrepreneurial, and I also had another hardship in my life. My roommate from the Naval Academy, who was my best buddy, Keith Lasante, unfortunately took his own life after back-to-back deployments. And I also wanted to do something to turn that negative into positive. I didn't think that someone else could be so close to it could be another statistic in veteran suicide. And so I thought long and hard my second year at UVA about what I wanted to do. And I didn't want to just do something, for a year and move on and pivot. I wanted to really plot the course where I could be somewhere for 10 plus, 20 plus years. And so I learned about opportunities in the financial services space to be like a military veteran-owned company, where corporations and municipalities would take an interest in doing business with a firm like ours. I also realized early on my limitations. I didn't have a ton of experience in financial services or a strong network there, but the gentleman that I was able to meet socially did, and he took a strong interest in mentoring me. And so I came to him with a market opportunity that I saw, and he got really excited. He's an older gentleman, 73 years old, and been in the business world for 50 plus years. And I was a younger, ambitious, guy with a dream and a vision. And we came together and have been able to build something really great. So our business is an investment bank. We specialize with municipal clients and corporate clients, helping them find capital through the capital markets. And so these municipalities, state governments, cities are the borrowers, and we connect them to lenders of capital, primarily institutional investors. So it could be financial advisor managing retail money, or it could be T. Rowe Price, Fidelity, name brands like that you might have heard of. We also make money connecting buyers to sellers. So like if someone has the stock and wants to sell it, we'll act as a broker in the middle and collect a fee from that, connecting buyers of securities to sellers of securities. On the flip side, it's really important for us to give back to our local communities in a transparent way. When I was at UVA, I heard stories from the former CFO of MasterCard coming in, and how they really believe deeply in that a business can also do a social good, and it wasn't a sacrifice of shareholder value and conscious capitalism, other words for it. But for me, I just thought it made good business sense to show that if I could provide a great price for a service, but also provide, a transparent social good, that would be a reason for more people to want to work with us. And so in doing that, my business, American Veterans Group, reinvests 25% of our profits back into military charities in the local communities where we serve. So it's been a great way for us to build deeper relationships with our clients, in their own backyards. And it's been great too. We've been able to bring on really skilled individuals, whether they're a bond salesman or an investment banker, because they believe in this ethos as well. And so we've been able to develop some incredible, well-known clients all around the country, and some of the largest corporations in the country as well. It's been fun.
Let me tear that apart for a little bit. You're Wall Street's only public benefit corporation. Tell everybody what a PBC is, because not everybody knows it.
Yeah. So the great thing when you start a business is you start speaking to attorneys, and you have to incorporate your business. When I was looking at the menu of ways to incorporate, whether it's a S Corp out of New York or a C Corp out of Delaware or an LLC out of where, I started looking and thinking, oh, well, here's a public benefit corporation. I learned at UVA that companies like Etsy and Patagonia were public benefit corporations. And as I learned more, I became more curious. And so, like, if you look at Patagonia's publicly listed financial statements, at the very end of the statement, you'll see their public benefit page, an overview. It talks about all the work that they're doing in their local communities and giving back, and being a responsible member of society. And I just thought that ethos really aligned to what my vision for American Veterans Group was. So we've incorporated as a public benefit corporation, and it's just been a great way for us to, align ourselves with our mission, which is to provide a great business service to our clients and increase shareholder value, but also try to help as many veterans in transparent way as we can.
You've been at this for 3 years, right? You're right at your third anniversary, and you had a big year helping veterans in 2020.
It is, yeah. Thank you. You start off with a vision, and you just work really hard day in and day out, and you look back and you're like, wow. So, our first year, we essentially around break even. Our second year, we were able to sponsor 49 veterans for different employment training and assistance, and these are all post 9/11 veterans too. We're trying to, it's more of an art than a science, but we're trying to really transform the trajectory for younger veterans,
Right.
like my buddy Keith, trying to help them gain and build deeper roots in their communities after leaving the service. But to your point, after our last year in business, we were able to help over 550 post 9/11 veterans. And so I'm really happy with this kind of hockey stick growth that we've been able to achieve on the social mission side, and do more. I mean, there's a lot of great business or veteran businesses out there that they're doing great work in terms of hiring vets, and that certainly is important to us. But I really see a great opportunity for us as a small business, being kind of a middle player between these various military charities all around the country. It's a very fragmented space, but also these large corporations that have these massive hiring goals for veterans. And I feel like there's a great opportunity for us to help these charities get funding and added support that they need, but also help these companies hire, recruit, and train more veterans together, and just try to be just like basketball, trying to find more ways than just scoring points to be a better teammate to our clients.
What's a typical, if you got kind of like the average veteran that you've helped and what you did for them? I mean, what would, and another question that pops into my mind was, you've set up a foundation, AVG Foundation, I mean, can people contribute directly to the foundation in addition to the corporate profits that come in from your efforts?
Yeah, great question, Bob. So I'll take that one on. So, we had thought about, in the 80s, you had shareholder activism, and you had folks like tycoons like Boone Pickens and Carl Icahn have a belief that the management of these companies were not aligning to the interests of their shareholders, and so they'd take a board position and really force these managers to be aligned with shareholders. I think what we try to do, our vision, is to have the management interest, the shareholder interest, and the social mission all aligned together. And so that's what our vision is, and how we've tried to accomplish that is that 25% of our company is actually owned by this foundation that you're talking about.
Okay.
So my interest as manager, shareholder, is directly aligned to that of our social mission. And because a lot of folks have said, well, why don't you have you considered donating 25% of your gross revenues to charity? And I think that's one way to do it. I think that by having everyone's interest aligned, we can run a healthy business because of it and help more veterans.
You've not only grown, in helping veterans, but you're 3 years in and you've got a growing team too. Talk a little bit about the team.
That's true. So we started with essentially 3 folks in a tiny office, and now we have 21 folks around the country. We were able to triple our revenues last year from our second year to our third year, and you've seen the impact on the social mission side too, with the veterans. So really pleased.
Do you have
about
to pinch yourself at some point? I mean, this entrepreneurial journey. It's it takes people a long time to become an overnight success.
Well, that's very generous. I think the fun thing is it's a lot like being a student athlete with the Naval Academy. You just put your pack on, go to work, and try to add value to your clients each and every day, and in our case too, also add value to the community. I've always been a competitive kind of guy, and whether it's racing someone to their car or playing cornhole or pick up basketball, it's just fun to kind of come in and try to better yourself, and that's the fun thing with this business is we're building and growing every single day. So I'd encourage anyone thinking about entrepreneurship. I would say if you have the means, do it, because I think I would have discounted how much I have learned over the last 3 years versus if I'd had a normal job. It's so much fun, and the military experience. I think there's a lot of great parallels to being an entrepreneur. You got to be resourceful. That there's the network aspect. There's just a lot of parallels that I could talk forever about how the military experience has been helpful in this entrepreneurial endeavor.
I was talking before this and reminded me of a quote. This was in the context of people leaving corporate to become entrepreneurs. And I had a grizzled veteran years ago teach me a lot of things about all of this. And he said, the people that leave corporate to become entrepreneurs are trading the illusion of security for the illusion of independence. So, there we are, you're out there leaving the corporate job and becoming an entrepreneur. Last question, then we'll do the lightning round. Okay. Where do you want to be 5 to 10 years from now? What's the vision? What's the hairy, audacious goal that's out there, that you're really striving for right now? Because I know you haven't even begun to hit it.
I think it's just being the best leader I can be for American Veterans Group, being the best leader I can be in my family, and being the best leader I can be in my community. I think that's what the things that I really enjoy about American Veterans Group is we're involved in some really big issues of our day. We're in the middle of a pandemic, and a lot of our states, cities, local governments are having a tough time, and they haven't been able to get the revenues that they've historically gotten. Their costs are pretty, not changing, and they've run a deficit. And we've been, as a broker dealer, able to help them achieve, low borrowing costs as they fund these deficits. But it's stuff like that I enjoy being a part of the conversation and contributing to this common, civic good. So I think to try to answer your question, I just enjoy growing and being more knowledgeable about the issues of our time, the issues that our communities are facing, and coming to work every day with great people with similar values, that just enjoy building. I think that's the fun thing. If I'm wherever that seat is for me, I hope it's with American Veterans Group, that I'll be excited to come to work every day.
Ben, it's really good stuff that you're doing. We've been talking with Ben Biles, the CEO and founder of American Veterans Group. But before I let him get away, it's time for the lightning round. And this bell in this corny and tacky, All right, yeah.
If you're doing it, there's no way, Bob.
Okay. So here we go. We're going to ask you 3 questions to lighten things up just a little bit. If you had not gone into the Navy, if you had to choose another branch of service in MOS, what would it have been?
I think Army infantry. I would.
Infantry.
I'd stick out a little bit, but I think it'd be fun to.
You'd have a hard time keeping your head down. All right, infantry. All right, here we go. Second question: what was really the most difficult life lesson that you learned during your time in the Navy?
I think one of my first days, I reported to my boss, who's now a 2-star Admiral Hines. Hope you're well.
Right.
Appreciate you listening. And he came to me and said, Ben, I'd like you to help me with this problem I have. And I took a look at it, came back to him, talked to my team, and I came to him with 3 problems instead of 1. And he said, Ben, this isn't how this works. You give me, I give you a problem, and you give me suggestions for solutions, and then we pick them together. And that was such great advice to me. Don't give someone problems, give them suggestions or solutions.
All right, that's a great answer. Don't be a problem multiplier, be a problem solver. Okay. Third and final question. One interesting trivial fact about Ben Biles that most people wouldn't know.
I read a lot.
You read a lot. What do you read? What do you read?
A lot of nonfiction. I like learning about some of the challenges folks have had in the past, how they've dealt with it. So a lot of U.S. history, some psychology books too. I think that helps me develop as a leader, as a person. All right.
So here's a follow-up question. Can you share with us the title of a book you're reading right now or recently?
Yep. It's called Natasha's Dance. It's about the Russian history through its literature.
How about that? Okay. All right. Well, you survived the lightning round. So I appreciate it, Ben. Again, we have been speaking today with Ben Biles, the founder and CEO of American Veterans Group. He's in Melville, New York, out on Long Island. He is a Naval Academy grad, a Navy veteran, a Darden grad, and now doing some great things through his public benefit corporation. So, Ben, thank you so much for stepping into the spotlight again.
Thanks for having me, Bob. It's a pleasure, and I look forward to staying in touch. And if anyone from your audience wants to connect, please reach out to me on LinkedIn.
We are going to put links to all of the websites for Ben and his LinkedIn profile and ways for you can reach him on the show notes. You've been listening to the Spotlight on the Veteran Crowd Network. We air on Tuesdays and Fridays most of the time, and bringing in veterans into your household that are making a real difference. And certainly Ben Biles is doing that. Ben, I'll give an Army Bravo Zulu to you. And folks, that's a wrap.
Thank you for listening to Spotlight by VeteranCrowd. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. For more information and uploads, please visit our website at VeteranCrowdNetwork.com. We'll see you next time.